now tuned into Cultural Behavior Podcast. I'm your girl, Sincerely Jasmine, and I'm here with Mr. Jamar Alexander.
Yes, yes, yes. The one and only, no other, Alexander.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me today. So Ed is, of course, the biggest hustler that we know, and he was not able to make it today.
Okay.
But I could not pass up the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Jamar and learn about everything that he does. So tell me a little bit more about you, Jamar Alexander, what you do, and how you got started.
See, I don't even know where to begin because the story's just... I feel like I said the story like a thousand times, but I'm going to say it a little bit more in a more exciting way because my story could get a little boring, but many would say it's quite exciting. Actually, I started out born and raised in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I was born in North Philly. You know, single parent household, you know, the same story, Jay-Z, hustler mentality, typical African-American boy that grew up in the hood and, made a way and out of no way and just try to just look at the positive of things. But I was born and raised in North. I went to high school at Free Every Charter School. Actually, it's not too far from here. It's in Philadelphia, Center City, on Walnut Street. And so I, was there, and then after that, I went to study at community college for
CCP?
English, CCP.
Okay.
Yep, because I had to take the cheap way out, because I was like, these universities are so freaking expensive.
It is.
So I was like over it with that. So I went to CCP, and then went there for English, and then I transferred over to the dual program and went to Temple, and did marketing. And then that's what kind of led my journey into marketing. But I always had a passion for fashion as a child.
As we can see.
Yes, I was.
A statement.
My mind was just so blown with fashion. I mean, I don't even know where it began. I just know when I was born, I just know I just had a passion for textiles and clothing and just putting it together.
It was just always there.
And just playing with the color coordination. So I started in high school, and then I did my high school fashion show. And that's how I got into the fashion. And then I started doing a little styling. But where my journey really began is when I moved to New York, and I went there for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I studied fashion PR. Because I really wanted to know about fashion. I wanted to know the behind the scenes, what it's all about.
Right.
You know, what it tells, and just also I love to help brands. And I also love to develop brands and, kind of create and develop influencers as well. So I started doing that. And then once I was finished that, I just merged into doing some marketing and PR. And now I'm just out here doing some marketing, some PR, influencer development. That's it.
Do you work mainly with like fashion brands as far as like your PR?
So for PR, I did an internship with Factory PR firm who represented designers such as like Tom Ford, Bessie Johnson, Oscar De La Renta. So we work with them, and majority of what I did was I work in the events marketing and PR department. So my job, which is pretty much when everybody comes to New York Fashion Week and they're all dressed up, I'm the guy that checks you in. Okay. And be like, okay, you sit here and you sit here.
Handling all the big people, all the big names.
Yes, and they was giving me any type of work. They was like, tell people to sit here, do this, hand this person this water, and I'm like, ah.
See, but like now that you look back on it, it's like the opportunity, like they giving me these little small tasks, but you were actually in these rooms with these big names and these big brands. So I'm sure like that kind of provided leverage for you as an entrepreneur there.
Definitely. That was definitely a great way. I think that moment when I was doing internship, that was like where it really propelled, because I was like in the room and I seen so many influencers and just really understand like the fashion industry and just being around those people. It was like really compelling because it was like I was learning so much from them. Like, even though it was like small things that I was doing, it was kind of a way for me to see the behind the scenes and how I operate. So that way I can take that information and deliver it to my people.
Right. So what's one hot seat? What's one thing that you learned from behind the scenes during your internships and learning all the PR? What's one gem that you can share for people that's looking to pursue PR?
One big thing I would say is study. Study. A lot of things in fashion is a gift. It's it's something that's not, you can't be taught it. It's something that just come organically. You have to want to do it. You have to be into it. You have to have a passion for it. Fashion is just not about just dressing up and, wearing designers and wearing the new labels. It's about really creating what we would say the impossible in fashion, developing this image. And, when we come up with spreads and come up with covers of magazines, it's a way to kind of really just come up with something that nobody else have done. And it's all visual too. Like, I say creativity, and it's all about just being, it's in my mind. I feel like when I come up with a lot of designs and stuff like that, or anything I do, people say, well, how did you do that? How did you get that? Well, how did you? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just
there.
It's just there. And I think that's one of the major parts too, just studying and researching and just teaching yourself. Shoot, I knew when I was doing marketing, half of the stuff that I learned in school, I don't use today. Shoot, I'm like, well, damn, my degree and all that stuff just went down the drain. I'm like, well, what the heck? So marketing changes every day. And you always have to just study.
And with that being said, like, who's your industry idol that you kind of like study, look after everything they do?
My biggest idol, I would say that I look up to is RuPaul.
Love it.
I would say RuPaul, and it's not because I'm gay, but it's because of
he has so much versatility, so much complexity to him and his brand.
Yes, it's like he has a way of opening the impossible. Like, it's not even just about him dressing up in drag. It's just about you just being comfortable with yourself. In today's world, a lot of people struggle with insecurities. The depression rate is high. People struggle with so much of just being wanted, especially with social media climate. Looking up to RuPaul, it was a way he was like, just be free, be yourself. It's his favorite quote that I live by. He say that we are born naked and the rest is drag. And it's true, because any human being, we are born naked. Everything else we put on, it's like everybody has their own individual personality. Like, you have your personality, I have my own personality. And it's when we wear, and the clothes that we wear, is like, it describes us.
Right. That's so true. I love that.
It describes us.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that.
It
Shout out to RuPaul. So, wait, it's funny that you said that. It's like, I feel like RuPaul has so much like complexity to him. When he's not in drag, he's very masculine looking. He has a very masculine appearance to him. So it's like took me a while to kind of decipher, like, oh, this is like actually RuPaul. Like, when he's not in drag, like, he's a complete different person. So it just shows the complexity of like a businessman and like creating his own identity and like creating an identity for other people to kind of like thrive off of. So that's dope.
And I'm like, when I watch him and I learn from him, I'm just like, it's just like, you can just be yourself.
Yep.
You don't have to look at anyone else. You just be yourself. And also, I love how he touched upon like a lot of dynamics. Like you talked about, like him switching up and stuff like that. I mean, with that whole dynamic of switching up, it's just that you don't have to be labeled. You can be whatever you want. You don't have to be labeled to the infrastructure, or you don't have to also be a product of your environment. No matter what you do, if you're born in the hood, you don't always have to be ghetto. Everybody named Keisha is not from the hood.
Right.
So it blurs. It could go so many different ways when we look at this. Him and his stories and stuff.
Definitely, that's dope. Yeah. So going back to, you said you did like fashion shows in high school. What was your part involved in that? Like, were you designing? Were you like doing sets? Like, how was you involved? Like, went hands on?
So, oh my gosh, you won't imagine. So I was actually the first person to actually put on a fashion show at my school.
Oh, wow.
So my school was a college preparatory school. So they were all about education.
Right.
Fashion and all that stuff, and anything outside of like creativity
Math,
really wasn't it wasn't their mission. Their mission was education, going to our Ivy League schools, because it was so like they were all about education, sports programs. A lot of funding went into sports. They had freaking chess clubs that they gave money to. I'm like, who go to chess? But people went to chess. I was like, okay. Like, they gave money to. They had like, what is the Rubik's Cube? They had a Rubik's Cube club, and I'm like, okay.
So fashion club?
No fashion club. It was no freaking fashion club, and I'm like, what the heck? So I was like, I when I first started in 9th grade, I was like, we need a little change. Like, I'm here. It's a year now. I'm in 10th grade. I'm like, we need some fashion stuff. And everybody used to always say, Jamar, you look so nice. You dress so well. Like, I love your personality and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's good. But I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to do a fashion show at my school. It was so hard because, you know, they're all about education. I woke up and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to write a proposal. So what I did was I typed up some information about like fashion, and I started like giving them dates of like when I want to do it and all of that good stuff, just laying out a blueprint. So I was so nervous because the next day when I went to, she does events and at our school and stuff like that. So I went to her and I was like, I have a proposal. And I was like, we should do a fashion show. And she was like, a fashion show?
We don't do stuff like that.
I was like, we need some money for a fashion show. And they were like, no.
They said no.
Yeah, so they denied it the first time, right? So I said, hell no. Hell no, we're not going to do this. So I had to get a petition. So I got a petition.
What?
And I got everybody in the school to sign off on the petition. And I took the petition, and one day, that next month, every month we have a board of directors meeting.
Okay.
So all of our students are allowed to go to the board meetings and stuff. So I actually signed up to attend the board meeting. And they chose me. This is a big deal.
This was a big deal.
This is a lot. This is like changing the infrastructure of what
the
they
school,
were.
Right.
They were like, no, we're not going to do that. And then I wound up, went to the board meeting, and then I was like, this is my proposal. Everybody's having my back. Like, we need to do this. And they said, okay, Jamar, we're going to do it. So that's where it all started. And then ever since then, they started doing fashion shows. They call me every now and again. So actually, I serve on the board of directors for them now.
Wow.
I've been serving with them for about 3 years. So I'm just kind of giving back to them now. So
that's crazy.
It was a lot.
That's a big deal, right? But like you said, you completely changed the infrastructure, the whole style and layout of the school.
Yes.
Because fashion is an industry to pursue as a professional as well. You know, like it's not only doctors, lawyers. So like we have to understand it's a new year, a new day, and that's a lane for people to be exposed to as well. So
yes. And I'm so glad I did it because
breaking
the
barriers.
people that I trained and modeled in the fashion today are like got signed with like major industries.
Wow.
I remember when they couldn't walk and they were like,
wow.
And now today they're like on billboards. Some of the girls that I went to school with, I'm like, and they signed up, and I remember I'm like, okay, look at y'all guys, So I'm just so proud of myself because I'm just like,
proud dad.
Look at that. And some of the guys are like signed with like major model agencies in New York and stuff. So that's exciting. So I was like, good. I'm glad I did that.
That's amazing.
So they've been having shows ever since then.
That's dope.
It's been about maybe 8 years now. So
wow, that's dope. You really started a legacy there.
I did. I was like, good. Look at me.
Wow.
Laying a foundation.
Yes, I love that. So we're going to tune out for a quick little break. We'll be right back with Jamar Alexander. We are now back to Cultural Behavior Podcast, where every element has a seat at the table. I am still here with Mr. Jamar.
Yes.
So this morning, as I was preparing for our interview, I was watching this video. I'm not sure if you're familiar with comedian Lala Milan. I believe that's her last name.
Yes.
So she's like an Instagram influencer turned comedian turned actress. So she spoke on like a BET Network's panel. And she just was basically speaking on how within our culture specifically, as young minorities, that we always kind of put ourselves against each other when it comes to like the same industry. So like using her as an example, she's a comedian. She's like an Instagram comedian. Oh, she's funnier than maybe Just Hilarious or another instant, like, you know, like just the way of comparing and contrasting where I feel like, her, what she was ultimately saying is everybody can win. Right. So why is it that we just always putting each other against each other? Like, it also makes me think about the Cardi and Nicki thing, like, you know, or Cardi and like all the other female rappers that's out now. Like, why are we putting everybody against each other? Why can't we just like everybody?
Right. I mean, I think that's a question that can be answered, but it's so tough to really understand and why. I would say when we look at our history, I always go back to our history because I think that's the most compelling thing to start a conversation.
Yeah.
When we look at our history, we understand, you know, African Americans and slavery. You know, the light-skinned people were where? They were in the kitchen. You know, the women were in the kitchen. The dark-skinned men were out in the field picking cotton. There was a segregation there. That's where it begun.
Right.
There was a segregation there. Just imagine a dark man outside and he's looking at on the inside and saying, well, because of the color of my skin, because he's lighter, why is he inside of the house? Why he's not out here with me?
Right. It's already kind of built that mentality of us separating and better than and worse than, or, you know, like some sort of separation. And that's definitely a problem just within our communities in general. Like, and I didn't want to talk much about it, but like I feel like we need to talk on and like rest in peace Nipsey Hussle.
Yes.
With that being something, it's just like there's such a competitive energy within the Black community.
Right. Jealousy too. I think, you know, our history always tells us the slave masters always brought us against each other. I mean, we've always been fighting against each other, and I think that's where it started. But looking at today's world, I mean, we can make a change, but it's so crazy because I think it's embedded in us, in our culture. You know, coming from the hood, it was like the no snitch rule, but then we also had we got the no snitch rule. We have rules that are not realistic.
Right.
You know, not realistic. You know, we worry about the wrong things. You know, it's oftentimes I meet so many people and they're so focused on how they look. Oh, you know, when a woman walks in the room, she has the Louboutins on, right? She has all the designer stuff on, and she's like, and you know, oh my gosh, she's stuck up. She's this, she's that. Instead of embracing her look, they're saying, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Oh my God, he looks fly. But the first thing we do, we look to negativity.
Right.
And it starts with that, you know. It's just support. Why not support? But we just don't want to support each other. But then also, too, don't get me wrong. Black people, I do love my Black people. We do support. But sometimes we got to be a little bit more professional, too, as well. And I think it starts with us as well. You know, I love my Black folks. I've been to so many Black restaurants. But most of them, I will say, honey, Keisha, Shawanda yelling across the room. She's like, we ran out of mac and cheese.
They can't give me a substitute. Professionalism.
But yeah, it starts within our community. Maybe if we, you know, work within our community, you know, maybe things could be a little bit better. You know, supporting each other too as well. You know, not always asking for a discount. You know, you didn't go to H&M and ask for a discount. You didn't go there and say, oh, y'all got 25 off?
Yeah.
Come on, girl.
And stop asking for stuff for free.
For free.
Yeah.
Yes. Support. And it goes back to Lala. We don't support.
Yeah.
We don't support each other. And that's why we're against each other because, you know, the biggest thing when my mother was growing up and also me growing up as well, when, you know, I always noticed that even when it came to jobs, I would ask family members or other people for, you know, oh, you work at a particular hospital, girl, can you get me in? But they don't want to get you in because it's like they don't want you to take that opportunity
from them. Like low-key shade. So, see, what I'm getting from what you're saying is people don't want to share because they got to protect their space in the room. So it's like, well, I can't make room for other comedians or other artists or other PRs, other people in the marketing industry because then maybe that's going to kick me out the room. If I bring Jamar to the table as a PR on my PR team, maybe I might lose my job.
Absolutely. We talk about Cardi and Nicki's situation. I mean, when we look at that, I mean, Cardi, she's good, and Nicki, she's good. But then it's like, well, why bring two women together? Why can't they why can't they share the wealth? But it's like one doesn't want this other one to take her place. So it's like they're gonna just. It's just a revolving cycle. I don't know when it's going to stop.
But then it kind of goes back to like what Lala was saying. It's like, well, nobody wins with that because at the end of the day, now the money's being separated, so people got to pick. If we come together, we do a collab, we do a song together, now everybody's spending money on both of us. Yep. We don't have to tear any you got my fans, I got your fans, instead of drawing that line. Yep. So I feel like that mentality ultimately just creates this separation that's not going to allow any of us to win. Now I only got a fourth of the money. You only got a fourth of the money. Yes. When we could have all had like 10 times more views, money, like everything. So I think it's really just a matter of like shifting that mentality and like realizing we can all come together. It's really just that like collaboration over competition type of mentality. Like,
yeah, and it happens a lot too. I see it a lot. You know, just me and this generation. You know, I'm with the new millennial. I ain't up there, but you know, I'm with the millennials, and I see it. The biggest problem is the support system too. No matter what culture you're in, it's just the support, you know. And we just have to try to come together. I don't know, you know, maybe 400 years a slave. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe 400 years from now, maybe it'll get better. But, you know, one day at a time. And I think for me, you know, I just try to focus on myself and focus on what I can do to try to make the world better, but also just focus on how I can make myself better.
Right. And be an example of that person. Definitely. It's all about mentality when it comes to like really shifting that change.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I don't like Lala. There's so many comedians.
Right.
I like Lala.
Shout out to Lala. And I like the show that she's on, Bizz, He's Boomerang. I think that's really dope. So like shout out to that.
Monique too. I'm mad at Monique. She should have got her Netflix deal. I just had to bring that up.
She messed that up.
She did. She was doing too much though with that.
But Kevin Hart just got a Netflix special.
Yes, I see. I'm
sure he got his coins for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. But I gotta check that out. So I want to put you on a hot seat.
Yes.
So we're gonna play 2 truths, 1 lie.
Oh.
So share some facts from your career, things that you've been through, things that you do with your friends, and obviously we're getting to know each other, so I'll determine 2 truths, 1 lie.
Okay.
See if you can stump me.
Okay. So who will start?
You can start. Yeah.
Okay, so I studied dance. I see 2 more, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. One is I study dance. The other one is I'm obsessed with flossing my teeth. And I like to go out.
Okay. So 2 truths, 1 lie. You
Yeah.
get it right?
Yes.
All right.
2 truths, 1 lie. Yes.
So the lie is dance.
I did used to dance.
You did study dance?
I did.
So what's the lie?
So the lie, I like to floss my teeth a lot. It hurt.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a little. I don't like floss. I floss it where I need to, but it hurts.
Everybody think I floss. They be like, "Oh, you floss a lot."
But I thought like
I knew
maybe it's an
people get that
obsession. Okay. So you say you like to go out a lot. Where you like to go?
I don't know. I like to go to like parties. I like to go on vacations. I like to travel. I like to, meet new people. So
where do you like to travel? I'm like a big travel person. I just want to talk about trips all the time. So tell me where you been, what you have been doing.
I haven't really. So I've been to the many like little places. I just got my passport, sadly.
Yeah.
So I never been outside the country. So sadly, but I'm getting my passport, so I'm gonna.
It's
I'm
happening.
planning for this year, Cancun.
That'll be awesome.
And after that, Jamaica, working on that. And then that's the 2 trips I'm, want to use my passport on. I'm excited. I'm gonna vlog that too. But I've been to Atlanta, of course, LA, San Francisco, Chicago.
You downplaying it like people
Yeah,
who've
Chicago.
been to these places.
Everybody, people been to Chicago. The air flights.
I've never been to Chicago.
So like work stuff, doing some PR stuff, and I try to travel New York, places like that,
And you said you lived in New York. Where'd you live?
Tribeca.
Oh wow, that's not.
So
unusual.
so it was in Manhattan, and the internship actually paid half of the rent because that rent was expensive.
Oh wow.
They want like $3,400 easy.
That's nice.
34 easy. I went to the store one day. Oh my gosh, I was so hungry. The apartment didn't have no food, so I went to the corner store. And I'm from the hood, so
Little poppy planning.
We get cereal like 3 boxes for $10. So I'm walking to the store. I'm like, okay, there we go. I look at the sign. I look at the cereal. I see my good cereal. I see my honeycombs. I'm like, all right, they look good. I go reach for it. So I see the sign under it. The honeycombs say for 1 box, it say $11.50. So I'm like, I'm thinking that maybe
I'm a pass.
Something was under it.
I'm a pass.
But it was something under it. But
Nothing
I'm like, maybe
in the corner
that sign
store
might
should
be
cost
wrong.
$11.
Like, I thought it was wrong. I thought the sign was wrong. So I still grabbed it. I'm like, there can't be no $11.50 for no damn cereal. Grabbed the cereal, grabbed my water, went to the front. I also grabbed some milk, so let me tell you about the milk. The milk situation was crazy. So I went to the front, and I'm like, okay, ring my stuff up. The freaking cereal was $11.50. Tribeca is very expensive. The milk cost me about $7 $8.80
Oh
just
my
for like a small
God.
thing of milk. So I mean, it was fun in New York, but I got to go.
Yeah, I think that's like my
It
biggest
was
fear.
crazy.
I love
But
New
celebrities
York.
lived in that area, so it was like
Right, you was just
that's
in the
why.
mix, but I'm not paying $12 for a box of cereal. Not happening.
Yeah.
And that's I love New York. I'll catch this little bus
Yeah.
train ride back and forth, but I cannot. That's ridiculous.
That's
And how much you say the rent was?
Oh my gosh, rent was like 35
That's
a month.
insane.
Yeah.
That's $3,500.
It was like maybe not. It's not that big. It was like maybe like 2 studio apartments. It wasn't that big. It was small.
That's crazy.
They had a rooftop. They had little amenities, but shoot, that was still high. You know.
That's
But-
nice though that you actually lived there. So tell me about, you said you went to LA. LA is somewhere that I want to go hopefully this year. So how was your time in LA?
So I stayed in LA only for 2 days. I went with a client.
Okay.
That time I was working with a music artist. And of course we were doing like a media tour. So I really didn't party in LA, but we did like a couple media tour and it was nice. It was nice. It was fun. Got to stop at a few stores. I didn't get a chance to really do like an actual tour,
Right.
but the next time I go, I've only been there one time so far, but I plan on going this year, of course, because my friend, she plans on moving there, Morgan, aka she's moving there, so I'm excited for that. So I'll be
Now
at her
you got
place.
a reason to go.
Yes, I'll be at her place, Morg.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I need a friend in LA that I can get flued out. So if any of my friends want to move to LA,
Yeah, so she'll be like, I'll be sitting at her place all day. I'm like,
That's
girl,
awesome.
give me a closet.
yes, that's
So
popping.
visit that word. I actually wanted to really see what it's like and all that stuff. So do an actual tour.
Yeah, like really do like the tourist things, check out all the Hollywood sign and all that. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's dope. So another hot seat question. What's your biggest career experience? Like best thing that's happened? You telling me you travel with clients to LA, you did these internships in New York.
Yeah.
Like what would you consider the highlight of your career?
I would say my highlight of my career
Thus far, obviously you just getting started, so.
would be when I first met Tom Ford.
Wow.
When I first met Tom Ford. And of course, in the fashion industry, you went to fancy Johnson all the nobles. But when I met Tom Ford, because I studied him for years since I was young, so when I
Right.
first started fashion. And what made that moment so highlighting was that I was able to be in the room. I didn't work on a project, but I was in the room and absorbed the energy and the atmosphere of them
Right.
working on a fashion spread for Vogue.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, there's all these creative directors, artistic directors, elite PR people, and Tom Ford is at the end of the table. And I'm just in the corner, with my little notebook, just sitting there, because, this is my intern. I'm like, ah. So he's just talking, and he's just like, the way he talk and the way he's just like conduct business is like amazing. The way they was
Wow.
like coming up with designs and
just natural.
prices. They were like, okay, picking models from the way they pick the models to the casting to the way they work on fabrics, the way they come up with prices, like the way they even oh my gosh, Tom Ford makes a lot of money off their prices. Low key, we all know that, guys, because them clothes don't be. But yo, they make so much. Like the way they come up with prices
the
and the
name.
design, it's amazing. And then I actually, the most highlighted part also was when they brought all these new clothes in. They bring all the new designs and
designs.
samples in. So just be able to see all these new clothes and
That nobody saw before.
Yes. And then, working with a couple music artists, like Diddy Simmons came in and we worked with him and we styled him for the fashion spread and did all that
Wow.
good stuff. So I was able to see all that and work with that. So that was nice. That was the
That's
biggest highlight.
amazing.
So that's why when fashion designers come to me today, I'll be like, come on, we gotta do it. I'm telling you,
Yes.
it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And fashion is not for everybody. It's not a hustle. You can't. A designer is not created. You
Right.
have to have a passion for it. So, yeah. And that was the most highlight. I'm just reminiscing on it right now.
That's
so.
amazing. As you should. Like, how many people can say that they were in the same room as Tom Ford?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that
Wow.
opportunity was, and I took that knowledge and I took all that creativity and all the juices and everything that they had to sing in the room, and I absorbed that, and that's what I talk about also bringing back education. I educated myself.
Right.
You know, I just, you know, everything that we're talking about, you know, there were things that I didn't know that I didn't learn in school. So I would go home and, you know, study it. You know, study what textile mean. Like, what is textile? What is textile design? You know, how do you create your prices when you're first creating a brand, or you're coming out with a t-shirt collection?
Right.
How do you monetize your brand? What are the first things you need to do to build your brand? So all of those different things was able to help me and propelled me to be able to like teach other people.
Right. That's amazing. And when did you get started with your PR brand? Like,
I started PR in 2016.
Okay. So this will be year 3 for you?
Yeah. So I was fairly new.
Congrats.
Yeah, fairly new.
Awesome. So like, as far as like, obviously you've worked with artists, fashion brands, like what's your favorite industry to focus on when it comes to like the PR aspect?
Influencer development.
Okay.
I like to work with individuals who has a product or service, or even some type of experience to share with people.
Right.
You know, people that come to me, they are like real estate agents, or they're music artists, or they're fashion designers, or they want to build some type of company. I start with them first, right? Because I think the biggest thing is a lot of people, they want to start with the brand, they want to start with the actual company. I'm saying, no, start with them.
Right.
Let's sit down and see where your mind is at.
And at the end of the day, people are brands.
Yes.
You are your brand.
Yes.
So I feel like that's like a step that a lot of people skip over because they want like, oh, well, I want to have a fashion brand. Or I want to own a store. Mm-hmm. I want to own whatever. And it's like, well, you kind of skip the step of like branding yourself and like making sure there's some type of identity behind the product or the service. So that's a good point.
And it starts with them. I mean, you know, so many people, they be like, well, I need to build my following. I want to do this on social media. Why is she getting more likes than I am? I'm posting the same information. Or why is this not working? Or, you know, and I'm like, well, you have to start with yourself. You know, it starts within. And a lot of times, especially with the social media, a lot of people come to me for social media development and creating content. And they want to, when they come to me, what I see in common is a lot of them, they want someone else's image. They don't say it per se. You know, we all look up to someone on social media. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that'd be the problem. I'd be like, you know, don't do that. You know, start with yourself. What works for you? You know, because she has 2 million followers and you only have 100 followers, but you're doing the same thing that she's doing, but it's because it works for her and she's doing it in a unique way.
And also, it didn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing I think about PR in general and just like brand development. A lot of people like, well, this is what I want. These are the end results I want. I want this to equal this many dollars. And it's like, well, you have to understand her 2 million followers and her product sponsorship and all of everything that came with her brand did not just happen in a matter of let me hire Jamar and pay him XYZ and boom. Like, it don't happen like that. And that's the biggest, I think, like the biggest mistake for brands in general, just thinking that like it's gonna happen overnight.
Absolutely. And my biggest mission for my PR company is that I always tell my clients, as I say, always try to release those shackles of conviction, because that's the most compelling thing that you can do in this dynamic of communication and landscape, is to just play it safe. Definitely. And that's my mission, because you can't play it safe. Release those shackles. You know, I think every person that comes to me, they have shackles on. We all have shackles of some type of conviction that we feel like we can improve ourselves on, some way, shape, or form. But if we take those shackles off and, you know, just be free and just be yourself, and, you know, when you get on social media, if you post 1 time a day, that's okay. You know, if you want to do little comedy shows and you feel like, you know, it doesn't work for you, do something else. Keep doing it. Keep trying new things, and just be yourself. That's all you can do.
I love that. What is it? Breaking the shackles of conviction.
Yes, that's my mission. Breaking the shackles of conviction.
I love that.
Because the most compelling thing in this dynamic landscape of communication, I say dynamic landscape and communication because it is a dynamic, and the landscape is the foundation, right? And the communication is the dialogue between anything, me and you, and social media. You know, we're delivering things.
I love that, because we tend to be our own biggest enemy and get in our own way. So it's just like, stop getting in your way.
Yes.
Like,
and I struggle with that too. I was, growing up, I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I struggle with that a lot of times, you know, dealing with my own insecurities and dealing with my own, doubt and trying to fit in, and trying to, become this masculine figure that everyone said this is what a typical man's supposed to be.
Right.
So I was always, struggling with that. So, but as I got older, I was just like, everybody was like, Jamar, people would say like, oh, that's fake. You're fake. But I noticed that, yeah, sometimes I can be fake because shit, that's not me. And I had to say, Jamar, that's not me. I'm not that type of person. So I had to understand myself. Shoot, get yourself together and just be yourself.
Yeah, self-identity is so important.
And it's hard. Some people can't admit it. Everybody struggle with it. Big Sean just came out and was like, he suffered from depression based off of, social media and stuff like that, because we deal with it a lot.
We all do. Tough. And I think it's important for us to just notify that we all experience different mental, whether it's like insecurities, depression, anxiety, we all just have to acknowledge that. So I think that's a great note. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to Cultural Behavior here with Jamar.
Yes.
All right, we are now back to Cultural Behavior, where every element has a seat at the table. I am still joined by Mr. Jamar Alexander.
Yes.
So we talked about you liking to go out. I just want to talk a little bit about Philly night scene. I don't know much about Philly night scene. I don't go out much. But like, I just feel like our city's a little bit different than like other major cities like LA, New York, even like Atlanta, Miami. So when it comes to like going out. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your experience with the nightlife and what that's popping, and what's your opinion overall.
The nightlife.
What do you rate Philly? Oh, let me ask before we get into it. What would you rate Philly's nightlife? Or clubs and all that?
Okay. Now I'm gonna break it down a little bit. So I'm gonna do because we got a lot of different clubs in Philly. So I'm gonna do the straight side. I'm gonna do the gay side.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I gotta do the LGBTQ side.
Separated.
Okay. So I'm gonna start with the LGBTQ side because I can end it with the straight side. The LGBTQ side, the nightlife, it's okay. I mean, it's kind of like they put all the masculine people at the top, just as well as like the straight, the straight nightlife is like, they put the sexy women at the top forefront. But I think the LGBTQ is cool. That nightlife is cool. Let's start with the straight though. Let's start with them. Now, the nightlife with the girls, it is segregated, to be honest. It's segregated. It's not a lot of like inclusiveness.
As far as like race, or as far as like style, or a little bit of everything? I
would say race.
Okay.
I would say race. Because I don't know, you just see
so
it.
So based off of like the clubs and stuff?
Say again?
Are we talking like clubs and...
Like clubs, like certain clubs. I'm not going to name particular clubs.
Right. But
what I will say is that some of the clubs I've been to, it was like a different feeling, it wasn't, I felt like it wasn't enough inclusive, like I said, like, right. Just seeing my type of people, black people. I don't see a lot of us in these particular clubs or in these particular positions.
Right.
The management side of things,
right.
I don't
or
see
the
us
staff.
in that. Right. And I think, that's why a lot of problems are occurring, in a lot of industries, because there's not a lot of diversity. Because if they would have had a black person in the room, maybe this I am donkey t-shirt, or what is that? Monkey. I'm the biggest monkey in the room, where H&M did that. It was a monkey, right?
What was King of the
Jungle. Yeah. Maybe if they would have had a black girl or a black man up in there at the table,
they wouldn't have made that mistake.
Same for a lot of designers that have been under attack, like Fendi.
Definitely.
Inclusiveness, diversity.
They've been making a lot of. Can we talk about that?
Gucci.
They've been making a lot of mistakes this season, going into spring 2019. Why have all the designers been making this terrible mistake of just being very racist? Like,
it's diversity.
I
will be honest. In the fashion industry, it's only when you look at designers, only 2% of the fashion industry is African Americans. Especially when it comes to the designers. It's only 2% because it's very expensive to start a collection. You know, it's thousands of dollars. These people spend $15,000 on one shirt or $20,000 on an entire collection, or just to even show your collection in Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, you have to get sponsored. And when you get sponsored, that's about $30,000 just to do a show that only lasts about 10 seconds. Right. But, you know, we don't have that type of resources or money to be able to get there. So, unfortunately, you know, that's why I try to, create and work a lot with a lot of black designers. But to go back on topic, diversity is not, and I think if they would have had a black person, when I see a lot of these collections, I'm like, how did you not see that?
Right.
Like,
literally.
If you understand, like, you don't even have to.
You don't even have to
study
your
culture.
You don't even have to study history to understand that some things are just blatantly ignorant.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hold on, this isn't right.
But that's because they don't have diversity. There's nobody. It's not a black person in the room.
And I think the thing with diversity right now, like with it being like 2019, diversity is kind of trendy.
Yes.
These brands want to have the curly hair black girl in their ads. They want to have these black influencers sending them products so they can repost to their target audiences. But it's like, are we actually being included in your brand? And we talked about that on a past episode, just like how a lot of major big brands don't necessarily include our culture in their mottos, and what they stand for. Is like, yeah, we want them to wear it, we want them to buy it, we want them to share it, but it's like, are we included in what y'all represent and what y'all stand for? Obviously not, because y'all keep making these simple little monkey mistakes.
Yes. And I always just try to say, I think the biggest thing is people don't understand is that we have to have a seat at the table.
Right.
As long as we have a seat at the table, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think a lot of these companies don't give us a seat at the table. They don't. They just allow us just to, okay, we're going to prostitute you, and then, you're going to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And go ahead and do whatever, you know. And I think they just use us, when we look at it, and it's crazy. And I don't come against a lot of these reality shows, but the reality shows don't help either.
Right.
As a, for especially women. Black women. That's not every typical black woman and black men. We look at these shows, it's like, it's crazy. Like, these shows are like, this is not a black woman. This is not a black family. Yeah. This is not how it is. And then when you look at the white shows, I'm not going Beverly Hills.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say that.
And you like, girl, why they got them painted as the rich people?
The aspect
Beverly
of family
yes.
is like in these reality shows, a lot of like Keeping Up the Kardashians. I'm not really like that big into reality shows, so I can't think of any. But there are like more predominantly white reality shows, and they're so family oriented. They all spend time with their family. They having dinner. Like, it's just like all of the family and friends. And then you have the black reality shows where it's like the families are completely being torn apart. Like the mom and the son is arguing, and the son is like talking about his sister or his brother to these random people that he just met because they all on this reality show. So it's just like so much betrayal just within our community. And it's like family used to be such a high value within the black community, and I just feel like we're losing that like general value. So it's crazy just how it's being represented in the media, where it's like other cultures are so family oriented, so together. At dinner, the Kardashians, no matter how much drama they got going on, they are still a family. Okay. Hey sis, I just was on Chloe's Insta, and Courtney started a new business and sent Chloe and Kim bought oh, shout out to sis new business. Like, it's so like supportive. It's just like black people don't even shout out they homie t-shirt line.
You gotta call them and FaceTime them 30 times just to get them to post one picture.
Can you please just repost my t-shirt line without me having to give you a free one?
And I think that's where it starts too. So, like just that reality show.
Just the support, and just like the imagery of what we actually stand for. So it's kind of crazy.
And the media don't help either, because with this Nipsey situation, there's a lot with that too.
Yeah, and just how the media tears everything apart and try to make it whatever they want it to be. It's literally crazy, because it's like we'll have a certain subject and we try to turn it into what we want. Let it be what it is.
Right. Absolutely.
And not try to turn it into what the shade room wanted to be and turn it into a poll. So do you think this happened? Or this like what different? Let it be what it is.
Right.
There's so many hands in the pots. There's so many opinions.
Now, do you believe Jussie Smollett? This is a little bit off topic, but I just had to merge it to this.
So
what's your thoughts?
I'm a little naive sometimes, apparently. So when the whole thing happened, I was just all like, why would he lie? Like, this is like, why would he lie about this? Like, why are y'all like, don't disregard the black man, don't disregard a gay black man, like, you know, like, don't discredit people for what they experience or what they feel. Like, I was just like 100% on his side.
Right.
Then all of this stuff happened, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know what to believe anymore, because obviously I'm not the brightest. So I don't know what to, honestly, I was very mind blown about just like the whole thing, but it just kind of goes back to people will do anything for fame.
Yes, they will.
Anything.
They will go above and beyond.
Yeah, so it's just like, I never want to be famous that bad. Especially, I guess you get a little taste of it, and you just like, well, why am I not this big? Or why are these people not, you know? And you feel like you want more.
I think y'all keep up that imagery of what they thought of you. Or, you know, you got to keep up that same persona.
Yeah.
You know? And it's sad, you know. Shoot, even with these celebrities, child, you go out at the clubs, and I'll be in New York at the club, and they talk about, can you go half on me on a bottle? I'm like, honey, you got more money than me.
Can you go half on me on a bottle?
But they had to keep up the image.
Because we need a bottle. We
Yes.
have to get a bottle. But we don't have to get a bottle. See, that's why I don't go out. That's why I don't go out, y'all. I stay right in the house. I'm not spending all this money.
Yes.
Anyway, I digress. So we just entered a new quarter. It's going into the middle part of the year, 2019. So what do you have planned going in for? I know you said you want to do some traveling. Like, so tell us what you have planned for the rest of the year.
So for this year, I'm going to be working with a couple of nonprofits,
awesome.
just really developing and coming up with some fundraisers, back to school nights. So we're in the works of working on that.
Cool.
So if guys want to keep updates on that, be sure to just follow me on social media, Jamar Alexander. And what else is coming up? I'm working on my podcast that I'm doing, and I'm also working on my vlog now. I used to do a vlog when I was in high school, but I kind of like shied away from it. But now I'm just starting to back up. So now I'm just getting out there, just, you know, talking about my life and, you know, lifestyle vlogging, because I like to talk. So
I love that.
Yeah,
and I was on your Instagram, like, using all this food and drinks. I'm like, yes, I love lifestyle. I'm just like, all these cute little happy hours and stuff. I'm here for it. So just pretty much keeping up with your brand and clients. That's awesome.
And then just really I think this year, you know, last year, the biggest struggle for me last year is I wasn't focused on myself enough. You know, a lot of times with our PR and marketing, we focus on everyone else's brand.
Yep.
You know, I'm worrying about this, so making sure you have the interviews, or you're on this news station. I'm just marketing you, but I never really worked on myself. So I said in 2019, my goal and for myself is to market myself and work on myself and just really develop that. So that's one of the biggest things I, you know, taught myself and I've learned from last year to kind of just progress in that.
I love that. And I love that you're here representing you, not a client. We're not talking about we're talking about you.
I'm so shocked because people be like, when I reach out to a lot of, you know, talking to different publications, they're like, Jamar, you? They do know I like to talk, but they're so used to me
being on behalf of someone else.
Yes.
I think that's a real important part. So anybody just like that's interested in PR, looking to like pursue the public relations, marketing, like industry, I think it's very important to just be mindful of, don't like overlook yourself. Like don't forget about yourself, because it's so many times that we busy with clients, doing events and all this stuff, running around for other brands, picking and pulling all this other stuff, connecting so many dots that you like, what about me?
Yes. And that's anything, you know, even doing a little business, any business that you have, try to find time to focus on yourself. Try to find time to just meditate and just heal.
Right.
You know, because sometimes when you just focus on the things that you like to do, you know, even for baking, you know, if you're a baker, you know, don't shy away from it. Don't let your business. I'm not a baker. I burn stuff all the time. My friends will tell you that. I put something in the oven, but I do know how to cook. But what I will tell you, baking is not my expertise, because it's about strategic and persistent timing.
I could bake out of box.
I can't time it. In my head, I got to put a timer on, but the timer never works because my phone never rings. It'll ring like 3 hours later.
And burnt.
Now I'm like, I burnt it. I
didn't burn whatever I was making.
Yes. So any business that you do, just focus on yourself and find time to heal.
What would be a self-care tip you would share with entrepreneurs, besides baking, obviously?
one big tip I would say for millennials in today's world that's creating a business or developing any type of business or even just finding themselves, the biggest advice I would say is to listen and to just focus. The biggest thing is listening.
Yeah.
The famous quote I live by is a lot of people listen to respond and don't listen to understand.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of things that we do in today's world, we just have to listen and absorb it. Just take in. We randomly meet people on the street every day.
Right.
I walk into coffee shops every day and, meet random people and just listen to what they have to say and great advice. Or, I may be on a business adventure and, I may need some advice.
Right.
But a lot of times people don't want to listen. But I say, just listen, just absorb it. Just say, no, okay. I'm glad you told me that.
Just take a moment and take it all in. I think that's a great
just to listen.
Great gym this year, yeah. Because we're in such a fast pace as entrepreneurs. We're just so busy. We just think being busy and being productive is like just pause, take a breath, and take it all in. So I think that's good.
That's one biggest thing I can say, because everything else, just falls into place with timing.
Yep.
Life is strategically about timing. Things happen for a reason. Everything works out for its good. And, I always say, the Bible say life and death is in the power of the tongue. And those who love it would eat its fruit. So, you just have to prophetically speak it. And when you speak it into existence, it'll work out for its good.
Yes, I'm a firm believer speaking it into existence. So
Speak
we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to Cultural Behavior with Jamar.
Yes.
We are now back to Cultural Behavior. We're here with Mr. Jamar.
Ooh.
So we just kind of talked a little bit briefly about diversity, and it just kind of made me think about this Beyonce thing where a few weeks ago Beyonce walked away from this Reebok deal, was it? I believe. So apparently there was a proposal of doing a Reebok and Ivy Park collab. Ivy Park is Beyonce's like sporty chic brand. And they was looking to do a collab with Reebok, and I guess she walked into the meeting and it just wasn't enough black faces there, and she said she didn't want to collab with Reebok. So
she was like, period.
She
walked in and walked out. She was like,
so apparently there wasn't enough people that was of her background or that kind of knew, the Ivy Park brand's style. So she was like, I don't think this will be a fit. These people can't work on my campaign. And now Ivy Park is going to be collabing with Adidas.
Okay.
So is that shade? Did the queen shade Reebok? Or,
she did. That was shade, but...
Or is it, like we say, is it diversity needs to be included in branding?
Absolutely. It does. And I think she does have a valid point.
Right.
We do have to develop inclusiveness and just really just have diversity in the room. Also, too, like coming from, my background, working in the LGBTQ community and just being, a gay man myself, black and gay, working in the entertainment industry, just working in the indie industry, I feel like it wasn't, like in the beginning, it wasn't enough inclusiveness. But now it's like, now we're bridging that gap, So it's like, you see more diversity, you see more like, different people and having a seat at the table. So, that's exciting. I think it comes with timing, too. So.
I was surprised, honestly, that Reebok would, I kind of think Reebok's a pretty urban brand.
Yeah.
But I guess like when you go up the ranks in any corporation, it just kind of gets whitewashed. Yeah. But I'm surprised that Reebok like dropped the ball. Like, how'd you missed the B deal? That's like.
She don't care. She got a couple $1 billion.
But like them, like how y'all drop the ball and not have anybody in here that can, relate to the urban brand.
But I don't even, the thing about it with a lot of like other cultures, I don't even blame them, the particular person. They can't help it. The same way, the first thing we do when we walk into a room and we see a group of black people, we see a group of white people, the first thing we do, we're going to linger towards black people first instead of we're not going to linger. Especially if you're black, you're going to lean more to the black than the white. But if you're white, you're going to lean more to the white. But that's just something that's been programmed. That's what, I don't know, just naturally, organically just happened.
Right.
But, I think when we change our mindset, and like I said, we change the mindset. I don't blame them because it's like our history. It was like, it was the way the economic system and was developed, So seeing that, and it's like,
I just look at it like, so y'all don't have no good black workers at Reebok? that you can trust to be at the meeting with Beyonce?
Because and a lot of companies too. Now we're talking about like radio and the media. It's the way the media also portrays black people and black men. Because sometimes when I wear my Timbs and I wear my baggy jeans and I wear my white tee, I'm a whole different person.
Right.
From the image perspective, from their position. But I'm like, well, damn. Okay, well,
yeah,
if I wear
could just
this,
feel the energy shift,
right? And it's like, well, even like there's a big thing now, colorism. A lot of people are bleaching their skin. Azealia Banks just bleached her skin because she felt like, did you see her? She looks like a damn. No, she's crazy, girl. She's light skinned. Azealia was light skinned. Spice was,
I did hear about Spice bleaching her skin. That's common in the Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
So that's why when I heard that from her, I wasn't that surprised. But what's her name?
Azealia Banks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just recently did it too.
Yeah, but I did hear that she did it. But I think she just has a lot of self-hate in general.
Yeah. And also fitting into. A lot of people talk about like fitting into. Because they feel like they have to be something that they're not just in order to fit in. And
right.
Sometimes it's reality. Perception is reality.
Definitely. And I feel like these type of instances, like Reebok not having any brown people at the meeting was held with Beyonce, speaks volume of how we're still kind of in that realm of like, okay, like maybe if we see black, we're not going to think it's good. Like, like it just doesn't, maybe it's not a good look. Maybe that's why they didn't do it like that. Yeah. But anyway.
Then they want that certain type of black too.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Exactly.
Especially working in corporate America.
Whitewash, exactly.
They want that certain type of black person that they, they call it the black person that act white, right?
Yeah.
That's what they say, or talk proper.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely a certain type of person. But anyway, Reebok lost that deal. So Ivy Park and Adidas coming soon. But I do want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It was exciting. It was fun.
It was great. So I want you to tell everybody where they can check you out, social media, YouTube, all of that.
So for YouTube, you guys can follow me at Jamar Alexander. Also, you can follow Jamar Alexander on all platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Path. And you can also follow me on Christian Mingle.
Stop.
You can also follow me on Tinder, Grindr.
Stop.
Jack. I'm just
You played too much. Jamar Alexander on every platform.
You can follow me on everything. That's JAMAR. ALEXANDER.
Yes.
And that's where you can find me. And I got some good things coming up, so you guys should just follow me on social media. I follow back too. So
yes, and he has a very cute social media page. I like following people that have like an aesthetic to their social media. It's nice
out
content.
There, they need some marketing, need some development, and need some strategic planning. Hit me up.
Jamar's
DM me,
the guy.
And anybody want to book me, hit your man up.
Great.
Hey, that's what they say on the music videos. Yo.
So I had a great time chatting today. Obviously, Thank you for visiting, to pulling up a seat at the table, Cultural Behavior. You can tune in every other Wednesday on Water Ice Radio and follow us at Cultural Behavior on Instagram, CB Podcast 215 on Twitter. We're out.